Hello, YouTubers. Hear me. Joe Kersey here on April the 19th, Thursday, 2018 at 10:50 in the morning Eastern Time. God bless us all. If I seem distracted, I'm actually recording this on 2 different cameras right now. I don't know what's going to come out of that little experiment, but we'll find out. It's been a few days since I've talked with you. You know, when we last left our hero, or anti-hero, depending on your point of view, I had been talking about my cable problem, and I thought, hey, James came in and saved the day, and everything's okay, and it's working, and we're okay. And indeed, essentially, he had for about 15 hours when the problem happened again. You know, the thing went out, you know, and reset modem, reset this, reset everything multiple times over like a 6, 7, 8 hour period. No result. You know, call the cable company. Fine. Somebody, you know, and they're generally out here fairly quickly. I mean, they were out probably within about 6 hours, you know, after the call. And this was on a Monday that the guy came out. Omar came out. Omar was a very interesting guy. He was a U.S. Army veteran who had been in the Balkans during the Clinton administration years. In any case, you know, he looked at all the stuff. And it's interesting, when he first checked it in the house, he got a good signal. See, that's the thing. These other guys would come out, they'd get a good signal. You know, they'd get a good signal. And they'd say, oh, it's you know. All right. So then he went down and he checked the connection at the pole barn. He says, oh, I'm not getting a good signal now. And so then he went up the ladder to the connection up the, you know, the line that goes across the road. And he said, well, that signal's good. He said, so the problems between this box up here on the line, you know, the connection at the line, the, you know, the on the pole, and down, you know, the overhead line that goes down into the part of the cable that lies on the ground. And so he just replaced that segment of cable. Massively good signal. He says, I'm getting over 100 down and over, you know, 15 up. So what apparently had been happening, and it's had to have been happening intermittently since early February, is, you know, some sort of fracture was happening in that cable, and when it became far enough apart, then, you know, the signal stopped. When it sort of worked its way back together again, then I could get the stuff to reset, you know. Sometimes on its own, sometimes I had the guy come out, and even though they didn't do anything, you know, I mean, see, these guys, when they'd come out, were getting good signals. And so, you know, this had been an intermittent problem because it was an ongoing developing fracture in that segment of cable. Okay. problem solved and seems to be working. And so apparently now I have a spare modem. So the problem wasn't in the other modem either, you know. It wasn't the first modem. I had to get rid of the first modem anyway because it was not capable of handling this signal. I'm now getting, the last I checked, I'm getting 117 down and 12 up. That is fast internet by anybody's standards. Yeah. But, you know, anyway, they fixed it. Omar, good on you, Omar. So this morning, it's another cold, drizzly April morning, and the turkeys, you know, this would normally be turkey breed. Well, it's not normally. It is. It's turkey breeding season. In some parts of Ohio, they have a spring turkey hunting season and a fall turkey hunting season. I don't know what the status is in Delaware County. But we had two toms displaying down on the creek bank this morning, you know, full fanned out, you know, strutting around, you know, looked like something out of a West Side Story, you know. And you know, I so wanted to video those, but it was just too crappy to get out, and these guys would take off. They'd go scampering real fast, and you know, they like to. A lot of them will like to. They'll go up. What they'll do is they'll go up the slope into the driveway. So I went around the front door here and I looked at the drive, you know, down the driveway. Sure enough, here come a bunch of hens scampering along. And I kept waiting for the toms to show up behind them. But they had stayed down on the creek bank. And when I looked down the creek bank again, they're chasing a bunch of hens up that way. So it's all lust and love here on the creek bank in Turkey, as far as the turkeys are concerned here on the island of peace. I'll tell you a funny story about turkey hunting. We had a guy brought in with had a shotgun blast to his wrist. And it was a 20 gauge, you know, he had a 20 gauge shotgun wadding lodged in his wrist. How this guy had gotten shot with a 20 gauge shotgun at close range and not managed to bag his median and ulnar nerve or median or radial and ulnar artery, it's hard to say, but you know, it must have been close enough it actually went right through that one spot. Sort of like the spot the Romans would drive the nails when they crucified people, you know. And what had happened is he and his brother had gone turkey hunting, and they were sitting, you know, they were all camouflaged and, you know, had their guns wrapped in camo and everything. And one was sitting on one side of the tree, the other side was sitting on the other side of the tree, and they were both kind of calling. You know, whatever. I used to be able to do it fairly well. I can't do it anymore. And so this one guy thinks he sees something coming or something. And so he sticks his hand out, you know, to the side. And his brother, of course, thinks he hears something coming. So he kind of is looking around. He sees this sort of red and white hand, well, red and white something, you know, coming out just behind him. So he turns and he fires. So he shoots his brother's wrist and hand with this 20 gauge shotgun. It could have been a lot worse, but, you know, just had to do a little packing and debridement and wrapping and prayer. And I don't think any charges were filed. Gotta love turkey season. You see some interesting stories in deer season too. So I had a funny thing happen yesterday. A friend of mine who's actually kind of a patient. I'm not going to tell you his name obviously because he's a kind of a quasi patient. He calls me for medical advice from time to time, and he's got several medical problems. He's sort of like pre-diabetic. He's had bad coronary artery disease. He's had 5 bypasses, and or he had five anastomoses when he had his bypass. I don't think he's had any stents put in post-op. Anyway, his cardiac stuff's more or less under control. Although it turns out maybe not, because he has a fairly sizable ventral hernia. He's just a big guy. He's basically split open. That's what's happened. And he was going to get this repaired. He wants to go to Italy and listen to operas and. Okay, fine. Well, good. Glad he can do that. He and his wife can, do that. They do that a lot. They go all over the world. They listen to these oddball, obscure operas. Good, great fun for them. Except that this guy had a change in his EKG, and his cardiologist wanted to have a stress test, which pretty much puts the kibosh on him having this hernia fixed before he goes to Italy to La Scala to listen to, I don't know, something or other. And so he's made an appointment for the stress test. I guess he's going to have it on Monday. He just called me again today. So he left from the cardiologist to his sort of his day job. He also buys and sells a lot of stuff on eBay for a price. He buys camera equipment and stuff, and high-end camera equipment, needless to say. And so he runs these bridge games, where they set the tables up and people come in and then they rotate, and I don't know what it's called. But, they're all these bridge, uptight bridge Nazi types, And so he's in there, and he forgot to turn his cell phone off. Usually he puts it on silent, and this thing's ringing, and he answers. It was a call, one of these cold solicitation phone calls on his cell phone, which he almost never uses, trying to sell him funeral insurance. He said, "I hope I shouldn't be taking this as a sign." So I had a little laugh over that. And then last night, Wednesday night, Liz and Henry came over, and we had Donato's subs and Donato's pizza, and pigged out and lit the candles and told stories and laughed and had great fun. So that was a good way to, end this, sort of narrative dry spell I've been having. So on that note, I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTubers.